Welcome to All Things Moore County, Moore County's weekly radio show, highlighting the many facets of the Sandhills. That includes real estate, lifestyles, community, and neighborhood. And now, from 4 Properties, here's your host, Bill Sahadi.
Good morning. Welcome to the talk show, All Things Moore County. Dorothy, good morning.
Good morning, Bill.
I'm glad we had the show we had last week before the spring season on getting your house ready to put in market condition and get it on the market.
Well, spring cleaning time, so it's a good time to do that.
Yeah. We always like to segue back into real estate occasionally, but remember we talked earlier in the year about one of the most common themes that we think we're going to be following this year will be to talk a lot about the kids of the area, schools, the arts, and in that regard, today we're going to be speaking with one of our favorite people, Peggy Taphorn.
Yes, she's full of energy.
Of the Temple Theater, who's been a guest. She's a producing artistic director, and Greta Zanstra, who is the director of education. And it's going to be interesting to hear about their programs going on that they're offering to the public, plus the opportunities that they're going to be offering to a lot of the students of the area to keep the arts vibrant, in full focus. And as you know, there's a lot of talk about.
There's a whole lot of talk about
funding cuts, and it always seems like the arts are the first thing to go.
Of course they are.
Right.
It's, unfortunately, too many people don't deem arts important.
Right.
And they are.
I know a lot of students that don't deem algebra so important. But
I say we cut algebra. I'm all for that one.
I was in that on that bandbox many years ago. Before we speak with Peggy and Greta, the Carolina Philharmonic, who has been on the show often and who also do a great job in filling the void in our area for the students with the Carolina Philharmonic Junior Orchestra. The Philharmonic is having an event next Wednesday, February the 11th at 3 o'clock and 7:30 at the Owens Auditorium at the Sandhills Community College. Broadway stars Edward Watts and Marissa McGowan are going to be joining David Michael Wolfe and the Philharmonic for a walk through some of Broadway's most beloved melodies, mixed in with a lot of unexpected treasures. The seats are selling quickly, and this is really right before Valentine's Day weekend. Great time to have a musical.
Yes.
And tickets are $30 for general admission. And ticket information, you can call 910-687-0287. Edward Watts and Peggy, I have to tell you, you know him.
That's right. I actually think I did Ed's first professional job. He was Shoeless Joe Hardy when I was Lola and Damn Yankees in St. Louis.
Oh, you're kidding.
And then we also did 1776 in New York, and he was playing Thomas Jefferson, and I was Abigail Adams. So, yeah, it's a small world.
It is really a small world. When I showed you the flyer, you right away took to Edward's picture.
Right.
He's performed in Les Mis, Fantastics, Beauty and the Beast. Marissa McGowan has been in A Little Night Music, Bonnie and Clyde. And your experience and your history on Broadway, it's a small knit community.
Absolutely. And once you work with people, whether it's regionally or in New York, you form a bond as actors.
Right.
You become a very dysfunctional family for a short time, and sometimes a long time. And then you go off and you may or may not see each other for many years, but once you reconnect, it's like old home week. It's really fun.
Well, they're going to be here Wednesday. It's a 3 o'clock show and a 7:30 show at the Owens Auditorium, a walk on Broadway. If you're looking for something to do pre-Valentine's Day, this sounds like a great opportunity to get out and listen to some great music. We had you on back in the fall, and about 3 or 4 weeks after you were on, I brought 2 of my young friends to the Temple Theater to see Tuesdays with Morrie. And Abby was a junior in high school, and her brother was a freshman. And I can't tell you how intimate the theater is and how it's impossible to not get a great seat.
I think that's the charm of the Temple Theater. You know, it was
Amazing.
built in 1925 as a vaudeville theater. So
Right.
the acoustics are amazing.
Yeah.
For plays like Tuesdays with Morrie, we don't use any amplification, no microphones. You just hear the natural voice, which I think is really rare and special these days. And you're right, there's not a bad seat in the house. The downstairs is about 230 seats, and upstairs, which is my favorite place to sit in the balcony, is another about 100 seats. And so you really do feel like you're part of the action, which is the joy of live theater. You know, the audience is 50% of the equation in live theater, and if the audience is with you and vibrant, then the actors feel that, and you know, it's about a give and take situation. So that's why I think the Temple is so special.
I was interested to watch both of the kids, their reaction to the play, and I have to share it with you. Abby is a junior. She, of course, got engrossed in the play, in the moment. There were two actors on the stage the entire show, and it was a very intimate show. And it was it was sad, it was happy. There were life lessons to be learned. So she got it, and she talked about the show afterwards. Zach, a freshman, on the other hand, he wanted credit for just showing up, wanted something to eat right afterwards, sat one seat away from us, and he sort of wanted to just sign autographs or saying, "Hey, I'm here, do I get credit?" It's a little bit different with guys and girls, isn't it? The way they process information like that at that age.
I think it can be, and I think it's again, one of the interesting things about theater is that it is subjective, so
Right.
it affects everybody differently.
Right.
Some people, especially with Tuesdays with Morrie, could barely sit through it, and there was not a dry eye in the house most performances. And then other people do it a little more clinically. They're especially younger people. You're used to having a screen in front of you, or a little tiny phone screen, or it's. I think that's one of the most important things about live theater, and especially what Greta does, is that she makes young people communicate and work with each other, and team building and all those skills that we don't particularly have to use these days in the digital age. And live theater, you're asked to participate.
Right.
And some people aren't used to that. We'll do shows where people don't applaud, especially for matinees for students, because they haven't been trained that they are part of the show. So when I do the curtain speech, or Greta does the curtain speech for student matinees, we always say, you can laugh, you can cry if you have to. We ask that you don't sing along very loudly, but, participate, lean forward, be part of it. And I think that's not asked a lot of kids these days.
Yeah. Greta, as the education director at the Temple Theater, you probably can relate to this expression that teachers, because in effect that's what you are, teachers are not as enrolled in income as they are in outcome.
I think that's absolutely an accurate statement. And it's true. So much of what I think any teacher gets out of their job is watching their students, watching them learn, watching them understand, watching them grow. I just could talk for days about moments that personally still touch me, some from
Right.
months ago, some from years ago, where I saw a student take a big leap forward, and it's just makes a mark forever on your heart to say, I helped that person.
Do you wish you could videotape those aha moments?
Well, in a way, it's kind of like what we were just saying, that theater, what makes it special is that it is a one-time only thing. You can't record it and watch it again and again. It's
Right.
happening in that moment. So I love those moments that are just real and honest and intimate, that just happen backstage or happen in a classroom, where a student does have an aha moment, or an actor does have an aha moment, and it's unfiltered. So if they knew they were being recorded, it
Right.
wouldn't be that honest, like, I did it kind of feeling.
Is one of the most gratifying feelings that you get watching the participants, the students, their esteem flourish.
Absolutely. Again, there's so many incidents I can think of where that was where it was such a meaningful moment. The one that comes to mind last summer, there was a young lady who's been with us for 2 years now. She takes classes during the year in our academy classes, and also has been a part of our summer conservatory for 2 seasons. And she has some social anxiety, and I believe she is on the autism spectrum, and she struggles with connecting with other people. And when we first met her, she wouldn't say a word. not a word, wouldn't speak, wouldn't make any eye contact with anyone. And then she, started to be able to say words to other people and work with a partner. And last summer, lo and behold, she had a little group of friends, and they had their lunch together, and they hung out together, and she had lines that she said all by herself on stage in a show. And our last day of conservatory, we always have what we call the warm fuzzy. And so everyone gets a chance to say something that they remember, something that makes their heart warm and fuzzy about the experience. And some kids give compliments to each other or say, I made new friends or whatever. It was really funny when so-and-so did this. And when it was her turn, again, this child that 2 years before wouldn't say a word to anyone, she said, I want to thank you all because I've grown so much. She said, even my counselors, who I go to see every day, there's a student who has so many issues that she goes to see a counselor every day,
right,
notices the difference and says, boy,
right,
Temple Theater is really helping you come out of your shell, helping you be confident. That is an amazing gift to all of us. I don't think any of the teachers were not crying.
Peggy, honestly, it's a shame Greta's so shy. It's a shame that she can't project enthusiasm. I'm kidding.
Right.
What a role model.
Absolutely.
Oh my goodness! And you're demonstrative as you speak. I mean,
I'm trying to be quiet and slow right now.
I'm trying to put on a parent set of ears to listen to you, and I'm thinking to myself, boy, if I were a parent, that's somebody I would want to put my kids in front of, because whatever it is that you give, that whatever they can get is better than what they had before.
Well, I thank you for that.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, really.
Well, I appreciate that, and we certainly, as a theater, and certainly myself personally, I try to make sure that every person who's a part of a project that I am overseeing has a personalized experience, has a special experience, has something memorable. If they are the lead role, if they are backstage, if they are have one line in the ensemble, I want to make sure each of them know that they are an important, essential part of the team, which is, again, like Peggy was saying, something that a lot of young people don't have to do in their everyday life. They can live a pretty solitary existence just communicating with computers and phones, and I make them put those things down and say, no, let's work on what's happening right here in this room.
We have the whole show to talk not just about the education at the Temple Theater, but about the upcoming productions. I tell people about you, Peggy, that your day is 36 hours, your year is 14 months, and it's 24/7 all the time, except for the last week.
That's right. Well, we were talking about that earlier, and I think it's true for Greta as well, is that once you're in the zone in theater, it's easier to keep working.
Right.
And we do work 7 days a week, and we do work days and nights.
Mm-hmm.
And for a lot of people, that's kind of a head scratcher. But when you're passionate about it, and when you get rewards, like seeing people grow, like giving young actors their first line on stage, or older actors, I think part of our job in the region is to give local actors who are semi-professional or professional a place to use their talent and to grow their talent and their skills, while bringing in professionals from New York or Chicago or Pittsburgh or LA to sort of enhance the shows and give them the full professional experience. So we do work long hours, but it's well worth it. And then for me, my reward, I try to reward myself several times a year, is then to just go away,
right,
where I can't be reached by phone and
right,
computer for about a week, and then you refresh and work on yourself and work on reading, the 4 novels that you've had sitting in your backpack for a while. And then come back, and I'm always buzzing with new ideas, and you can see things with fresh eyes. And, I think that's very important, too, is to sort of relax and refresh and then jump back in with both feet until the next 4 months and then do it again.
Regional theater should be on an upswing with big time, because in our world, in our economy, in our education system, it's difficult to get people to move from one place to another, but to have a regional theater that can offer so much provides for students in Moore County, students in Lee County, an opportunity to see things that they might not get at school anymore.
Absolutely.
Right, and that's classes as well as coming to see performances.
Performances.
We were talking that back in the Stone Age when I was in school, every kid had to learn an instrument. Every kid had to pass the presidential physical fitness,
Right.
whatever that was called.
Right, I remember that.
Yeah, as well as keep up your academics. And as you were saying, you know, they're whittling away at the arts and sports and everything else. So I think it's very important to give kids what Greta was talking about, the outlet where they can be creative and be free thinkers. I mean, that's our future. You know, the industrial jobs are sort of shifting, and we need people who can think outside the box to lead us to that next, whatever the next cell phone discovery is going to be, or
Right.
wherever we're headed next, Mars or Venus or who knows where.
Right.
Because in theater, the sky really is the limit.
Right.
It's all about your imagination. And because everything is immediate on a screen, you don't have to use your imagination anymore. You don't have to remember directions. You don't have to think. If you want to know what it looks like on Venus, you just put it in your phone, and they're like, oh, it looks like that. Instead of making Venus out of a cardboard box and your imagination, you know.
Gene Maples couldn't be with us today, but I know if he were here, he would say what I'm about to say. So when I went to Tuesdays with Maury, Greta, I have to just tell you what my observations were. It was I think it was a Thursday evening performance. I think it was a midweek performance. So we walked in, and Peggy was in the lobby. She was walking around like the mayor. She was talking intimately with some of her friends, some of the guests, and some of the volunteers. And then she got on stage, and she addressed the audience before the production. And it's sort of like it was a maternal feeling over this thing you've kind of given birth to. And do you get that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, you were hands-on, full throttle.
Right.
And I think Abby picked that up, and you know she's impressionable, and she sees a woman filling a role, a professional role, and a passionate role, where someone's involved in something that they really love. That's a great thing for a kid to see.
Absolutely. And part of my joy is, even like yesterday, I had just gotten back from vacation, which was lovely.
Right.
So during the show, I went and did the meet and greet and did the speech, and then went back to my office and started working and piling through. It's grant time, so I was working on those and catching up in finances and all the good stuff that I missed. But then I made sure I was back by the end of the show to watch people come out. And right now we're doing a show called Classic Nashville Roadshow, which is
Right.
all the great songs and duets, and it's a live piece band, you know, straight out of Nashville. And the joy that was emitted, it fed me for the next 5 hours. I was like, I'm going back to work. That's what it's for. To allow people that once-in-a-lifetime experience, and to see people smiling, or in the case of Tuesdays with Maury, genuinely touched and thinking and perhaps sparking a conversation on the ride home.
Mm-hmm.
That's what live theater does. That nothing else that I've experienced does like live theater.
We're going to come back in the second set. We're going to talk about some of the programs you have set up coming forward this year. And it's not just plays. You have one-night comedy. You have musical events. It's become sort of everything is under one umbrella, and it all has to do with entertainment and the arts, and it's all happening at the Temple Theater. And this should be a very vibrant year for you. We're talking with the Temple Theater. Always our pleasure. We'll be back in a minute. Welcome back to the second set with the Temple Theater. There's a lot of information to talk about. Let's kind of break it up a little bit. Before we get into the lineup for the spring season, the summer season, one of the things you're intimately involved with is the Temple Academy. And let's talk a little bit about that big picture, and then let's get specific.
Absolutely. So the big picture idea behind the Temple Academy is to give students throughout the year the opportunity to continue developing skills and exploring themselves as performers. Sometimes we have these fantastic experiences that only happen for a couple weeks in a year, and we wanted to build on that energy. So we have 8-week sessions of drama classes for ages 4 to 18, and during that time, they have a chance to, do a little bit more intimate work that we can then use those skills during the summer for the productions they're in, and as well as I've had comments from a lot of regional drama teachers saying, my student so-and-so who was in your class has really grown, and before I only gave her this role and now I can give her this role. So I think it's a great opportunity for new performers as well as those who are continuing to grow and learn.
The instruction you give is for voice, for dance, for acting. It's not one-dimensional.
Well, that's true, yeah. We do have different things that we do. We have a vocal instructor, and she does individualized coaching as well as performance class. We do sometimes have like a special master class that we do just for a weekend or something in any number of topics. We have sometimes dance classes, we have acting classes. We do all sorts of things to, again, help them grow as performers, help them grow as people. And I always say to parents who are a little skeptical, theater skills are life skills. The things we work on and learn and need to know in theater, like teamwork and problem solving and creativity and confidence, are things that will help you no matter what your final career choice is.
And the Temple Academy coincides with the school year?
It does, yes. So we have a fall session and we have a spring session. And the spring session is just starting on February 13th.
Oh, wow.
We meet once a week. Again, different age groups meet individually for 8 weeks. And so the last class of the spring will be on April 5th. And we do have spaces still available for those classes. And I know we're in Moore County here, and our theater's in Lee County, but we do actually have a good number of Moore County students that join us.
Yeah, and it's a very short drive. This is not. We're not talking about crossing county lines. And I don't think you can drive 20 minutes here and be almost anywhere.
That's like Sanford's logo. We're well centered. We're close to everybody.
You really are. The students, you said they start at age 4.
Mm-hmm, yes.
So they're preschool.
Yes, and I'm really excited about what we do with our youngest performers. It's a program that I was kind of passionate about before I came here. I'd worked with other companies in this capacity, and a struggle for young performers when they're 4, 5, 6 years of age is that they don't know how to read very well. It's just that point in their life, they're not just skilled readers. So rather than doing script-based things where we immediately give them a stumbling block and say you must be able to read before you can do it, we do all creative drama-based techniques, which there's books and books and books you can take on how to do creative drama techniques. But essentially, we take a story or a concept or an idea or a character, and we ask them to build the play, to build the performance from their imagination and what they already know. We don't ask them to read someone else's words. We say, here's how the story goes. Now let's act it out. Mm-hmm. And you would be surprised at the funny and sometimes touching and really honest performances that you can witness from a 4 or 5 or 6 year old.
They're so unlayered.
Right, because they're not trying to memorize the letters that they don't know. They're just giving an honest performance. It's really beautiful.
Wow. As you're talking, I'm getting these visions of Little League parents hovering over their children. Is my daughter, can she be professionally trained as a singer?
There's some of that, yes.
Yeah.
Do you get that?
Absolutely,
Oh,
absolutely.
Especially at that age, because everybody's a princess and a star.
Right.
When they're 4.
Right.
Come on.
Right. I went to a dinner, a Chinese New Year's dinner the other night, and every year at Chinese New Year's I join this family, and it was in conjunction with their 4-year-old's birthday party. Mm-hmm. So he had all these little boys around him, and they were singing Happy Birthday. And he was so happy, he started putting his fingers up in the air, and he was singing the song as if he were singing it to someone else, because he didn't know the difference. He didn't understand it was directed at him. Yeah. It was so cute. It was so innocent. And the facial expressions of all the kids, they're all in their own little world, mm-hmm. but they're not layered. Mm-hmm. It's very spontaneous.
Yeah.
Do you have a lot of the older students that mm-hmm. have signed up? Do they come back and as they get older and they move on, do they come back and visit? Do they come back and work with you?
Absolutely. We have I would say the majority of our students really are not new. Are returning students who have been around for years and have done shows with us and have been a part of our summer programming. And I spend a lot of weekends going to see performances at schools all over because they, send me a message and say, Miss Greta, please come and see my play. And it's an honor that they want me to see them performing elsewhere.
Mm-hmm. You can sign up to register.
Absolutely.
At this point,
Absolutely.
information on that?
It's really easy. There's a couple ways you can do it, but probably the simplest thing to do is go onto our website, templeshows.com. Towards the right-hand side, you'll see an education tab. Just click on that, and there's information about all sorts of programming in there. But just click on Temple Academy. The registration form is right there. You could either drop it in the mail or email it back to me, or probably, drop it off in person or send it via...
Fee information is all on the
exactly.
website.
Everything's right there. It's real simple to take care of. And if you have questions and things that you don't see covered there, anybody can email me, educationdirector@templeshows.com, and I'll get back to you and answer any questions that you might have.
Yeah. There was an article in the Pilot, I think about a week ago, had to do with school funding and budget cuts, and we talked at the beginning of the show that the arts are usually the first thing that sort of gets put under the carpet. The superintendent of schools advised parents at this meeting, and I'm just going to read, Grimacy advised parents, students, and concerned supporters of the arts not to limit their outcry to social media, but to write or email school board members, county commissioners, and Moore County state representatives, and to offer their viewpoint at the board's public meetings. Bob said, this is a time we have to decide for ourselves what responsibility looks like. We're either going to live with less or we're going to have to pay more. There's just no way out of this. We've pulled enough rabbits out of the hat. So that suggests to me that sometimes you have to think outside the box, and there are other avenues where parents can go.
Absolutely.
Temple Theater being one of them.
And we work really hard to make live theater accessible to anyone who wants to be a part of it or anyone who wants to see it. Some of the things we do, our classes like we were talking about. We also have student matinees for many of our main stage performances. So homeschool groups or schools can bring students for a vastly reduced price. It's during the school day. The show starts at 9:30 in the morning, and they're back to school by 12:30 for lunch. So we make that an option. We also have a program that's in our third year right now, which is a touring production designed specifically for young audiences. And we go to schools or sometimes churches or community centers and bring the performance to them so that they don't have to worry about getting students on buses and permission slips and all that sort of thing. So there's a lot of options that we try to make available so that students and families and schools don't have to do without the arts.
I'm enrolled. Her energy is off the charts. Do you sleep?
Sometimes, yeah, absolutely.
Do you really?
But I don't even drink coffee or anything like that. No soda.
Teachers, teachers that can provide a good role model for students, they're worth their weight in gold because all those impressions that you create with the students, these kids remember that stuff as they get older. They don't. It's not a one shot and you're done. You have the privilege to help them lay foundations for the future.
And I think all teachers should get a little pat on their back right now because of the things that they've done to make their students not just better educated, but better people.
And teachers all around, again, it's not about incomes, it's about outcomes.
Right.
And, oh my gosh, if it were about money, half the teachers wouldn't be around. It's, right?
Absolutely.
There's a dedication.
And Greta sort of touched on that, but it really is one of our missions at the Temple Theater to make it affordable for everybody. So we do offer scholarships, partial scholarships for both the academy classes and the in-school tours, as well as our summer conservatories. because that is, being based in Lee County, we are very aware that people don't have a lot of discretionary income, and so we really want everyone to be able to participate. So there's always a way. If you can't afford the full fee, talk to Greta, talk to me, and we'll negotiate something. We're also good on bartering. If you have skills as a parent or as a student, if you can sew or you want to paint a set or you want to, clean bathrooms, we have plenty of things that we can trade for arts education. That's how important we think it is.
Absolutely. We don't want anyone who has the passion and the interest to be turned away because they simply don't have the money to put down for it.
And people need to know the Temple Theater. This is not about money. It's not. You're not allergic to profit, right? But honestly, sometimes breaking even is a noble goal, and keeping the lifeblood of the theater and the work that it does is the most important thing. People need to know that it's not. Ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching.
Right. But we are glad to take people's money.
Yeah. You're not allergic to profit.
Not for profit.
Because I think we also have to
free.
put value on the arts.
Sure.
I was discussing with a teacher who was kind of balking at the fee, and I said, but the arts shouldn't be free, because then there's no value to it. We do pay our teachers, we pay our interns, we pay our,
right.
We have to pay licensing rights, we have to drive to certain venues, all of that is cost. And as much as we would love to, have enough funding that we could do it for free, we at this point can't, because a lot of the government funding and local community funding has been decimated. So we're really just trying, like you said, if we can break even on a project and make a little bit of profit
High five each
and be
other.
able to pay everybody, we're in good shape.
Yeah, and just to make you feel better, the Carolina Philharmonic, the junior orchestra, they are in existence solely because of private donations.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Without them, it doesn't exist.
Exactly.
But
when you think back what the community gets from those donations,
right.
I think the payback is huge. The
Yeah.
quality of life enhancement, the life skills, all of those things that the arts provide
Yeah.
for a lifetime.
Yeah.
The economic incentive, when people come to see a Temple show, they're usually going to stay for lunch or stay for dinner.
That's
They
right.
might buy gas in Lee County. All of those things contribute to the local economy.
That's true.
By having an arts center in what
true.
for us is the center of downtown.
Yeah.
And sometimes we think that, a little donation isn't going to make a big difference. But I want to point out that specifically for our schools, where we've had several private families write a check for, a couple $100s, and they have sponsored their entire school.
Mm-hmm.
Because for some of us, maybe, a couple $100s is not able to be, achieved. But for a lot of families, that's not really that huge of an investment. But then to give that gift of theater to hundreds of students for that is really, I think, getting a lot of bang for your buck.
That's right. And the whole process of giving back for the next generation, there's something, as our generation gets older, there's something very rewarding in doing that, just giving for the purpose of giving and paying it forward.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to come back in the third set. We want to talk a little bit about the summer camps, but we want to talk also about the lineup that you have going on this year. This is All Things Moore County.
Our house, it has a crowd. There's always something happening, and it's usually quite loud. Our mum, she's so nothing ever slows her down, and a mess is not allowed.
Like every boy at that age, exactly.
Welcome back to our final set with the Temple Theater. When we were on a couple of months ago, I was awed by how busy you guys were with all the productions that you've had back to back to back. There's no let up. That's going to be the case going forward for 2017.
Absolutely. We are ending our season of A Million Memories.
Right.
We have 3 main stage shows left. The Savannah Sipping Society, that Greta and I are both in. And it was written by the authors who wrote a lot of the episodes of The Golden Girls. So you can imagine it's a comedy, but it has some heartstring moments to it. So I'm really excited about that one. We have The Andrews Brothers, which
Yep.
is a madcap musical comedy based obviously, of course, on the music of the Andrews Sisters, but the premise is that they're waiting for the Andrews Sisters to come to this small town to do their USO tour, and of course they have bus trouble and they don't show up. So 3 guys decide the show must go on, don the costumes, and they do the Andrews Sisters USO set. So it's really cute and fun. So I'm looking forward to that one. And then we are ending our season of A Million Memories with a smash Broadway musical, Legally Blonde, and we have your good friend Haley Best, who was with us last time we were here.
I remember Haley.
She's coming to play Elle Woods, and that is a role that is written for her. So we're really excited. It's one of the most requested shows we've had. I think it's going to bring in a younger demographic as well as people who have seen the movie or seen it on Broadway. You know, they did this whole making of Legally Blonde, and so it's really fun, and I'm looking forward to ending the season with that one.
When I heard one of your ads for the Savannah Sipping Society, my brain went to Steel Magnolias. Is it the same type of humor amongst camaraderie
yes.
amongst women?
Absolutely. The story is that there are 4 women who aren't young anymore, and they're all sort of new to Savannah in one way or another, and they form a bond that's a little difficult in middle age. You don't make friends as easily, and so they meet at a hot yoga class, which they've all abandoned, and they become friends, and it really is about them getting to know each other and sharing in. Greta plays a life coach. She's sort of the oddball of the group who's like prods them into doing crazy things to sort of get out of their boxes and get out of their shells and jump back into life. And I think it's very touching and especially very funny of what the stuff they get themselves into. But they shared their stories, their life stories, and their dreams. And of course, since it was written by the authors of The Golden Girls, it has a nice, happy ending. But you learn a little bit along the way that I think all of us can relate to.
Sounds like a lot of laughs and maybe a tear or two in between.
Exactly. Yeah.
Absolutely. And no matter who you are or how old you are, there's always the sense of like, I don't think I can do that. I don't know if I should do that. And these girls just say, forget it. We're going to do it. We're going to do what we want to do. We're going to have the experiences we want to have. And I think that's a great message for anyone.
Absolutely. I just did that in Jamaica. Got my scuba diving certificate, and I'm not a strong swimmer, and I'm afraid of fish, so it may not end up being my sport.
You might wind up in a bathtub instead.
But I was really genuinely frightened, and I thought, feel the fear and do it anyway.
Right.
And that's sort of what these gals do, thanks to Greta's life coaching. It's a lot of fun.
That starts in a couple of weeks, right after Valentine's Day.
Absolutely, right.
The February the 16th through the 5th of March. And then the Andrew Brothers come in right after that, March 23rd. And Legally Blonde, April 27th is your start date.
Right.
So people can go on an ad hoc basis to any of your productions, but they can also contact the Temple Theater and they can purchase season passes.
Absolutely.
And you have an incentive in that regard?
Yes. Those are sales that we do at the beginning of each season. So in April or May of this coming year, we'll be selling tickets for next year,
Gotcha.
Which has yet to be announced. But I can guarantee there are going to be 7 fabulous shows. And next year's my 10th year at the Temple. So we're sort of doing a Pegiversary season, and the audience got to pick their 3 favorite shows of the past 10 years. So we've got those highlights coming up, as well as some newer shows that we're adding to the mix. So I'm really excited about that. And if you get season tickets, you can get a 4-pass or a 7-pass, and they're flexible. You can use all 7 tickets for one show if you want. You can use 1 ticket per show. It's completely up to you and personalized packaging. And you do get a 20% discount if you buy your season tickets. So, and again, as a nonprofit, we rely on those ticket sales, particularly at the Temple Theater. I'm proud to say our ticket sales amount for about 62% of our overall budget, which is huge. Usually it's about 35% for a regional theater. And I think that's the quality of our shows. I think it's that people know that no matter what they come to, whether it's a Tuesdays with Maury or Legally Blonde or our great Christmas Carol, that the quality is going to be good. And so it's that money that we use to bank on to start paying the royalties and hiring actors. And, because all of that, all the costs in theater are up front, and you don't get that payback literally till the show starts. So we have a lot of upfront costs that those season tickets help defray.
The value of the tickets they're low. They're just too low.
Right.
have a hard time. I mean, I'm from New York. I remember I'm going to Broadway shows, and the prices are there's you can't even talk about them in the same breath. It's such a good value.
No. Well, and last year, for the first time in Lee County, they imposed a tax on our ticket sales. It's actually through the state.
Right.
So the state now gets a piece of every ticket sale, as well as the county. So we had to increase our ticket prices, even though we are not seeing any of that funding coming back to us. So next season, unfortunately, we're going to have to raise our ticket prices a little bit to sort of cover that. But it's still, you can't buy a cheaper ticket anywhere, to my knowledge, for a professional show in North Carolina.
I remember being in New York in July, paying $160 or $180 per ticket to see a show on Broadway.
Right.
Back in 1993, I went to the Lucille Lortel Theater. I saw the original production of Steel Magnolias 8 times.
And what was your ticket?
$45, $55 at the time.
Right.
But that was 1993, and that was when Steel Magnolias was an all-female cast. There were no men in the movie. And it was a big hit, and then it went, I don't think it went to Broadway. I think it just went to a movie from
I think you're right.
off. Yeah, you know.
I don't think it's ever, well, I'm not sure.
You knew the Lucille Lortel Theater.
Absolutely.
I'm sure of it.
Right.
It was a different time, and they were telling me there at the after one of the shows I was at, they finally recognized me, being there so many times, who the people were that were being cast as the actresses in the movie. And so when the movie came out, I was so disappointed, because instead of leaving it to the audience's imagination about the men, based on what the women said, all taken place in the beauty salon, they sort of Hollywoodized it and took away your imagination. But adaptations are sometimes difficult, and nothing beats the Broadway show.
I agree. Except the Temple show.
Except the Temple show. But it is a great value.
And for people who want to get involved, either on stage or backstage, we do have some auditions coming up that I want to tell people about. If you have a Chihuahua who is well trained, we are looking for Bruiser in Legally Blonde. He or she has to be able to run on stage, sit on command, and speak. So if you have a trained Chihuahua, our doggy auditions are going to be on February 22nd, and that'll be from 6 to 8 p.m. at the theater. And so we are hoping we can find a great local star to play Bruiser in Legally Blonde. And then we also have auditions coming up for our Advanced Youth Conservatory. And we also have a touring troupe called our Temple Teen Ensemble. So you have to be at least 13 years old, and those auditions are going to be on March 29th. And at those auditions, we'll pick our next season's Temple Teen Ensemble, as well as the students who are going to be in the Summer Advanced Conservatory. So they should prepare. Greta, what do you need to see?
I would say they should have a small bit of a song, about 16 measures or so, and a bit of a monologue. And if you're interested in being a part of our Shakespeare Conservatory this summer, which is also an advanced one, a bit of your monologue should be in some classical text.
And you should wear dance clothes of some sort, whatever that means to you. It could be sweatpants and a sweatshirt,
Right.
although you'll be hot. Because we will do a dance combination for both the Musical Conservatory and the Temple Teen Ensemble that night as well.
Do you have
Again, that's on March 29th.
And do you have auditions each year for?
Yes.
Yes.
And then our full season auditions, and this is for adult actors, because we're seeing all kids on March 29th. But if they're not advanced and still want to be involved, and say our Christmas Carol, we'll have 1 hour of kids auditions in the early morning, and that is going to be on May 6th. But it's mostly for adult local actors, and the same thing, prepare a short piece of a song and a short piece of a monologue. Each person gets about 3 minutes. And we will have a pianist provided, or you could bring a CD if you want to sing along to a CD track. And everybody comes up, you slate your name, you do your song, you do your monologue, and get filed back out into the lobby. And last year we saw about 160 people at those auditions.
Really?
And people come from all over the state. We had a van load that came from Virginia. We had a van load that came from South Carolina. Because the Temple Theater is getting that kind of reputation where it's a fun place to work. It's, all the actors get some sort of stipend. Some of them, if they're semi-professional or professional, get a weekly salary. Other non-professionals will get a gas stipend at least. So if you want to be part of our Temple Theater family, then just come to those auditions. And again, all this information is on our website, which is templeshows.com. But if you're nervous and want to start practicing your stuff, our season auditions are on May 6th, and that's a Saturday.
For the few people that who are listening who have not been to the Temple Theater, give us your sentimental overview of the theater, because it's a special structure and place. It's in a way, it's like going back in time.
Right.
But it's a Currier and Ives postcard, isn't it?
Absolutely. And it really is what drew me to North Carolina. I think it's what draws a lot of our audience back, is that you walk in and you can feel the history.
Right.
So not only do you get
good.
to experience this great live professional theater, but you also get to experience it as it should be, in my opinion. It was built as a theater. It's been used as a theater pretty much since 1925. And you can just feel that. I think part of our goal is to continue that tradition.
Right.
And make it a valued part of our community. You know, like I was saying, we give back, tenfold to what we receive monetarily. But I think the quality of life, and it is because it is in that historical building. It's just not the same anywhere else. And the fact that each seat is a good seat. You can see, you feel like you're part of the action. From the front row, you literally are, you could touch the actors if you felt like it.
You walk off the lobby and you walk in with your ticket on the main level. The minute you open the door, there's a stage.
Right.
Yes.
And so maybe there are 18 or 20 rows, I'm not sure. But you literally are on top of the action the minute you walk through the door. And you're like, whoa, this
Exactly. And I've actually gotten a little spoiled. I came from the Broadway world and the touring world where you play arenas. You're in thousands of seats most of the time. And I've gotten spoiled now when I go to other theaters that are giants. If you're not sitting in the first 30 rows, it's not worth it because you don't feel anything from the show. You can't see expressions on people's faces. I mean, here, if somebody's sweating, you see the sweat. If someone on stage is in the moment, you feel that because you're part of it. And I think that's part of the charm of the Temple as well. It was built to engage the audience in live theater.
One quick question in closing before I ask you for some of your comments. So the actors and actresses that you bring in, they love performing at the Temple Theater because of that intimacy?
Absolutely.
It takes their craft back to an organic level where they're in touch with the audience?
Well, and I think since Greta and I are both still also working actors, we both have empathy for the process and for the people that we hire. She brings interns in the summer, and she's a great mentor to them. I think that's part of our individual missions is to give people an experience that will last their lifetime.
Right.
There are very few people, I can't even name a handful, who have worked at the Temple who haven't had a good time, and I think that's just because they weren't in a good place in their own lives.
Right.
Because we really do not only put on great theater, but we try to make the backstage life as healthy and as secure an environment. And the whole process, we engage the actors to be part of we call it the Temple family. I think that's important. Having worked away from home myself for many years, when you get to a new place, you don't know anybody, you're stuck in a group house with these people, so you have to eat, sleep, breathe, live, and do your craft with the same people for 6 weeks. It's important to create an atmosphere that is welcoming, and we really try hard to do that.
And for the Moore County residents who go up to the Temple Theater, it's a charming downtown area to walk around. The architecture on the buildings, the choice of restaurants. You don't have to eat in Moore County, hop in your car, and make the show.
Absolutely.
You get up there early, grab some dinner, walk from the restaurant to the show, and then walk back to your car. It's all very civilized.
Yes.
And parking is free.
Yeah.
I mean, that's an additional bonus, I think. In many places, you have to pay for parking.
Right.
And there's the Steel Pig Restaurant, Smoke and Barrel.
Yep.
We have a new wine bar, Libations, La Dolce Vita, Yarborough's, Miss Lacey's. All of these things are, if not La Dolce Vita, within walking distance. They're 2 minutes away by car. So there really is some great locally owned restaurants where you can support, again, a person, a family, a tradition, as opposed to a franchise, and have a great meal and then come and see some great theater.
So you mentioned earlier that you have 7 additional shows to kick off the 2017 fall season, and I know you're not going to tell us about them today, but will you come back
Absolutely.
and talk about them when you're ready to tell us?
Yes.
He looks like the cat that just ate the canary.
I'm really excited because the audience got to pick some of the shows.
Right.
And I think people are going to be very happy. And again, crafting a season is part of my challenge, because we do at the Temple, in addition to our shows, we have great special events coming up, things, like you were saying, concerts and comedians. We have Janica and the Deb, which is a new sort of folk group. We have Sweet Potato Pie and the Malpass Brothers. If you like bluegrass, you've heard of both of those groups. James Gregory, the funniest man in America, because we are also a Comedy Zone theater. We have Mike Wiley, who I think is one of the best playwright actors on the planet, is doing a school tour of his Jackie Robinson show. We have our great golf tournament coming up, which is held at Tobacco Road, and we have the Embers coming back. They're always a big hit. So we really do try to plan something for everybody.
Get to the people should get to the website to look at everything that's loaded for the balance of the spring season, and that website is
TempleShows.com.
So simple. I hope to see you guys back here when you're ready to talk about those 7 shows.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Inquiring minds will want to know. Have a great week. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you,
Thanks
Bill.
for having
Good
me.
to see you both. Thank you, Greta.
Our house, it has a crowd. There's always something happening, and it's usually quite